Hello everyone, and a very fast-paced welcome to Ischenko's list of top 5 indie hack-and-slash ARPGs that should to fulfill all of the Diablo cravings in your gaming life. Now this is a genre of wildly popular games that have an avid following, and these are just a handful of the games that I love to play. Way back during the tumultuous times of Blizzard North's mass exodus, things looked bleak for the future of the Diablo franchise, but it also opened up some promising doors. Now a lot of the talent from this one studio scattered to form some new studios all over, one of which became known as Flagship Studios. Now we're not going to get into that fiasco of a title that they're best known for, but rather we'll focus on their lesser known project, which was titled Mythos. When Flagship Studios closed down, the entire team behind Mythos quickly moved on to become their own studio, which was named Runic Games, and they immediately got to work on the spiritual successor to Mythos, which later became known as the title Torchlight. With the very turbulent history of the title out of the way, it's important to know why so many hold Torchlight as the game that stayed true to the heart of the Diablo franchise. This can easily be identified from the very structure of the game. You have 3 archetypes to choose from in melee, range, and of course the caster, and of them you descend through the layers of an increasingly dangerous mine to confront the big bad at the bottom. But where I'd like to focus is the second game, as this is where the magic really started to show. Much like the leap from Diablo 1 to 2, the world of Torchlight expanded tenfold as you headed out into a wide open world for the first time in the sequel. With the 4 classes of Berserker, Outlander, Engineer and Ember Mage, and a whole slew of new items that drop with an insane variety of bonuses, you'll easily be locked away in the world of Torchlight for many hours, exploring the vastness of all these new locations while experiencing a story that's actually quite interesting. With all the developments and callbacks to the first game, you certainly won't be disappointed with this title. There's also a pretty decent endgame available with a lot of extras to keep you playing. Not only does it have the expected New Game Plus mode, but also it delivers with an exceptional map work system. Here you can choose the layouts of your levels and go through a range of effects that will make maps more challenging, but also give a selection of enticing benefits to make up for the difficulty spike. Even though Torchlight 2 has aged quite a bit by now, the scope of things on offer and the fact that it's still played by many and followed by a devoted fandom to this day goes a long way to show the quality of this title. Even all of these years later, it's definitely still worth taking a look at one or both of these games. Sometimes a title can drop out of the blue and manage to impress you in a big way, and that is exactly the case for me with the incredible adventures of Van Helsing. I knew little to nothing about this game, and when I was looking for something to scratch that Diablo itch, I found the final cut available and decided to jump in and take a look. Right from the get-go, the decent list of classes and variety between them caught my eye, and since this genre easily infects me with the alt bug, I knew I was going to be creating a steady stream of new characters. You jump into the game playing as the son of the popular Van Helsing character in a Victorian setting that mixes weird science with mystical arts. And I just love it when creators mix sci-fi and fantasy elements into their fictional worlds, so this is a part of the game that gels with my likes in a very big way. Having an elaborate setting like this, the devs just had to up the ante, and this is where your ghost companion Katerina comes in. She can act as your support or even stand as a frontline combatant, as she comes with a skill tree of her own that you can configure around to find just the right build, making her a significant part of the gameplay experience. To top it all off, the bizarre banter that goes on between her and Van Helsing throughout the game pulls you in and truly gets hilarious in some parts. You'll find yourself easily falling in love with these characters. Now, having mentioned the world and the variety of classes, the options ranging from the spellcasting elementalist right through to the constructor who can summon all sorts of clockwork mechanisms, the devs certainly went all out to cover almost every spectrum when mixing science fiction and fantasy into a 19th century Europe. The classes also come with an intriguing skill tree unique to each of them, where you can plan out your skill paths. And also around each skill node, you'll find bonuses to spend points on in order to upgrade your skills even further. Once you unlock the secret layer early on in the game, you'll have a lot of extra options available to you, such as reforging items, imbuing essences into your items, gambling, and of course selling your unwanted drops. On top of all of this, the secret layer also unlocks some strangely enjoyable tower defense missions, which I at first thought would be little more than busy work or a distraction at best, but turns out these were really enjoyable overall and made for a fun minigame. The more I played Van Helsing, the more I found levels of depth within the game in just how you wish to go about saving Borgovia. From which skills and passive choices you'll make, to the multitude of equipable items and the extra customization you'll find in the lair, right down to how you want to build Katarina and change your functionality in battle. Add in the colourful cast you'll meet and interact with, it's simple to see just what an expansive experience you have on hand here. Taking into account that the final cut essentially wraps 3 Van Helsing games into one complete definitive edition, you can be safely assured that the content here means you'll get some real value for your money. The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing, the final cut, makes for a game worthy of any ARPG player's library. It's crazy to think back on all of the hype building up towards the launch of Wolcen. Even I got pulled in as there was this strange sort of anticipation surging through the community, and it's sad to say, with hindsight being 2020 and all, you can easily see why things went wrong. Unless Wolcen was released without any bugs or exploits, with skills and abilities completely balanced and having a deep and engrossing endgame, there was certainly going to be some unavoidable disappointment. Unfortunately, Wolcen stumbled on all of these points at launch. With all of that said, I count myself among those present at launch, and with more than 100 hours under the belt, it's safe to say I really enjoy the game. The combat is fast paced and the controls feel responsive, while the skills are varied and have a sense of impact to them, feeling fun and rewarding to pull off. You can feel the devs had a lot of fun building their game, and no one can question the passion that went into this project, which has especially become clear as time passed since its release. They've been hard at work on tweaking the balance as well as eliminating some of those pesky bugs. But it doesn't just stop there. There's been a steady rollout of free content that's been slowly making Wolcen a game worthy of living up to the hype that surrounded its release. The story, while leaning a wee bit into cliché territory at times, is actually loads of fun, and I certainly enjoyed it during my first playthrough. Enough so to take another stab at the campaign with a handful of new characters. That being said, if you have little interest in replaying the story, there's a host of activities for you to participate in during endgame. From helping to rebuild the city of Stormfall for some nice extra gameplay bonuses, to running expeditions and mandates, or even the added war table operations that's been added in the recent update. You'll find there's a whole host of things for you to entertain yourselves with this game. Above all of its features, what will stand as the thing of note when you're going to be discussing Wolcen is the Gate of Fate system. Now this isn't exactly unique, as it's quick to remind you of Final Fantasy's Sphere Grid or Path of Exile's passive tree. Wolcen however did go out of its way to place its own stamp on the system, and in my opinion it paid off. The most unique spin they've put on the system is how you can rotate sections to pair up different parts of the wheel, which gives you quite a few options in how you want to customize your character to fit your precise playstyle. It allows for a lot of flexibility as well though, if you're more someone who likes to think outside of the box. Whether you're just looking to play your standard cookie cutter builds or thinking of playing around and truly mix things up, Wolcen at the very least aims to cater towards achieving just that. Even the skill system has a lot of mixing and matching where you can constantly modify how each skill functions. So pairing the Gate of Fates with how you can repeatedly adapt your skills, the sheer variety of what you can pull off becomes staggering to just imagine. Throw in on top of this the aspects of Apocalypse that allow you to transform into large forms, each with their own unique skills. These transformations, while looking awe-inspiring, also help save you when battles become tight. Wolcen really makes an effort to adapt how it functions around your playstyle in a very big way, and it's this flexibility that really stuck with me and plays a big part in what repeatedly brings me back to this game. There is a whole lot for you to fall in love with in Wolcen, and even though the game has fallen off in the eyes of many, I think it's a game worth checking out, or at least a second glance, as the devs are still slaving away to make it a game worthy of your time. Style. It's easily one of those things that can draw you to a game, and this is something Dreamscaper excels at. The design they went with is truly exceptional, and such a clever choice as it actually quite effectively works its way into the narrative. Now my history of this game stretches quite a ways back, as I got in right at the release of Early Access. I played it for a decent while, and the thing that now stands out to me is just how the game evolved up until the launch of 1.0. The developers listened to feedback and kept hard at work to iron out the issues and oddities that detracted from the game. By the time we had the full version in hand, it was amazing to see just how much they've added overall. I missed out on a few of the early patches, so for me the perspective of what was and what it had become was a glorious leap. As for the narrative side of the game that I mentioned earlier, in this story you step into the shoes of Cassidy, someone with a bit of weight in her heart that she needs to work through. Dreamscaper takes these elements in Cassidy's life and effectively weaves them into the gameplay in a truly stunning way. Using the memories and fears and just the day-to-day happenings in Cassidy's world, the game translates these two parts of the gameplay into what you'll be experiencing in Dreamscaper. During the day, you'll have Cassidy chatting with the people around town and giving them gifts to help strengthen her relationships. She can also spend points in daydreaming in order to expand the dreaming world. She'll even meditate on the park bench in order to grow stronger in her dreams. Maybe you'll collect some sketches along the way to help out in her subconscious battles. All of these things might sound a little scattered when I just mention them offhand like this, but this is where the nighttime comes into play. Whenever Cassidy falls asleep, you'll delve alongside her into the dream world, and this is where the majority of the game takes place. Each of these dreamscapes represents facets and experiences out of Cassidy's past, and in each of these she'll have to battle her inner demons, and by the end of each level overcome the bosses that embody the darker part of what's been plaguing her psyche. The entire premise feels so simple when laid out, but the way these different aspects have been woven together by the devs is what makes the experience of Dreamscaper so brilliant. Unlike the rest of the games on this list, this one comes with some roguelike elements. For each time Cassidy gets off in her dreams, she'll be woken up to a new day. Here she can work on the waking world mechanics, which in turn makes her next stab at the dream world just a little bit easier. The gameplay loop you'll find yourself in makes for such an addictive part of the game, as each time you unlock something new during the day, you immediately imagine how much it'll help out in your next run. Couple that with how inventive and wild things can get makes for a truly unique experience. Roll into battle equipped with anything from water balloons to finger guns, even a mystical shield of protection. You can see how much fun the devs had when throwing all sorts of concepts into a space that would only make sense in the realm of one's dreams. What starts out with a painterly and creative art style to grab your attention, digging deeper into Dreamscaper ticks away so many boxes, running all the way through the fun responsive gameplay to the many imaginative mechanics to build your character, and not to mention how addictive the gameplay can get. It's easy to see how essential Dreamscaper is to any list of must-own games. If you found yourself part of the gaming scene around the mid-2000s, then the name Titan Quest should be familiar to you. While the game didn't quite launch to the acclaim of the Diablo games, it still managed to carve out its own place in the market, finding a relative amount of success for itself. Proof of this can be found in the launch of the Anniversary Edition available now on Steam, which even boasts some new DLCs being developed for the game all these years later. But let's set our sights on when Iron Lore Entertainment was closed down, due to their follow-up project not getting funded. This terrible incident did little to stop them though, as they almost immediately started a new company called Crate Entertainment and got right to work on a new game. Leaving the ancient mythological world of Titan Quest behind them, Crate went right for a dark and gritty take on the Victorian era with Grim Dawn. With a name like that, Crate had to do it justice, and that's just what they did. You enter the world of Kieran at its lowest. Two forces are at war, the Ethereals who see human beings as meat to be used, while the Chthonians want to starve their enemies of this resource by simply eliminating all humans. As you can only imagine, this places us in a very bad spot, as neither of these two outcomes seem very promising. This is where the hero comes in. Sandwiched between two insanely hostile forces, you have a very steep mountain to climb to see things through. Luckily the game comes up with some gratifying mechanics to send you on your way. If you've played Titan Quest, you'll instantly be familiar with how things work in Grim Dawn. You start off by picking a mastery, which is essentially like a class of sorts, and from here either spend points in the mastery bar, which enhances some of your attributes and also unlocks higher level skills, or you spend the points in the skills that you've unlocked. Where the true enjoyment of the system kicks in is once you reach level 10, where you can then add another mastery, giving you a wealth of options in how you'd like to modify your character. This blending of two skill trees opens up a whole range of customization, and it gets wild when the theory crafting starts to kick in. You don't think how much it changes things around, but from one character to the next, each added class actually makes for a lot of tweaking. The sheer range that opens up when you can choose between 9 masteries to pair together. Grim Dawn actually has a ton of playability available, and certainly more than enough options that's sure to fit any playstyle. As if that wasn't enough, on top of the masteries you'll have devotions that also feature a range of extras for you to throw in and further modify your character. Want to be more tanky, or work on energy leech or poison damage? The devotions allow for some far-reaching extras to play around with. They even added effects that can be added to your skills, giving them some added bonuses on top of what they already have. When talking itemization, an important aspect of any good ARPG, Grim Dawn doesn't disappoint. There's a whole bevy of loot that will drop along your journey, but it goes even deeper from there. Enemies will drop components that you collect, and these can be thrown into items for some extra bonuses. Or maybe you're like me and like to hoard these things for later, just in case. At least this pays off though, as you'll find crafting scrolls around the world to smithy yourself some new gear, which happens to use components as part of their recipes. While you're out in the world slaying evil and conquering regions, you'll find some small pockets of civilization, where you'll receive quests that'll drive you forward. Along the way, you'll delve deeper into the lore of this broken world and truly feel how dismal things are going for poor old humanity. It's these ragtag resistances though that adds to the feel of the world and the different views and intents they represent that make Grim Dawn so interesting. Gameplay wise, you'll find that as you help out factions and gain reputation, you gain new quests and bonuses as well. Conversely though, as you oppose factions or even weed out your enemies, you'll gain notoriety with them. This may even lead them to send their greater champions after you, making how you interact not only with your allies but the enemies as well an exciting facet of your Grim Dawn experience. Someone could easily gush for hours over why Grim Dawn is such a fun experience, but from what I've been saying, it's probably easy to pick up just how much I enjoy this game. If you're just interested in killing a few hours and nasties, or you're looking to throw yourself thoroughly for hundreds of hours into an enthralling experience, then Grim Dawn might just be the game waiting for you. There we have a handful of action-packed RPG experiences that is sure to keep you playing through the night into the wee hours of the morning, but these are just 5 of the many ARPGs out there that is sure to catch your fancy. Do you agree with my list? Be sure to give it a like and drop a comment to let me know which games you'd like to add to this list. Subscribe to the channel for more top 5 indie and classic games lists, as well as gameplay videos released daily. Have an awesome day everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.